Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Spiritual Spotlight series. Today, I'm joined by Maribeth Decker. She is of sacredgrove.com, and she is considered an expert in intuitive animal communication, medical intuition, and energies healing. In her sessions, she offers more than just animal communication, which is really cool. Maribeth, thank you so much for coming on the Spiritual Spotlight series.
I'm so glad to be here, Rachel. Thank you for inviting me.
Woohoo! So Maribeth, can you tell us about your journey into intuitive animal communication and what inspired you to pursue this path?
It, well, let's see. The biggest piece was, I'm going to cut to the chase, really. Uh, I had finished, or I was starting to finish my second career. I had a career in the Navy,
Mm,
and then I went and worked for an association. And at that point, I had this intuitive hit, which I love to say, to get massage, to teach, excuse me, to learn massage. And while I was there, I was offered to learn to become a Reiki master.
mm.
And I got to say, one thing with massage, good massage therapists, they do start to have that intuitive feel for their, people would say, your hands just move where they need to. However, the energy healing was where my dogs started intuitively communicating with me.
Mm.
And I loved it. But my first two encounters were for two dogs that had passed away. Yeah. Now, one of them he had passed for quite a while, my dog Timmy, and he just showed up like he was actually sitting there in the dining room while I was cooking a pretty mediocre dinner for my kids. And I saw him, I said, Timmy, what? And then he was there and he was gone, but he was so happy to see me. And yes, I was like, oh, and in a short second, I learned that, or I knew is a better word, that our animals survive their physical death. And he looked very happy. So he was happy where he was, and they're able to come back and let us know they're good. It's those of us who've experienced it. That's like some of the best things in the world to have happen to you.
It's so true because I think that a lot of people, I mean, their pets are like their kids.
Mm.
And, when they experience a loss like that, I'm thinking of one of my friends, Caitlin. She recently, one of her cats passed away, and it completely took the wind out of her sails because her little Popeye was her little champion, in her life for a long time. And it's like, I love that you're able to give peace to so many people when, their animals have passed. Like, I love
I
that.
am I'm so glad to do it too. And the beautiful thing is I've never encountered nobody on the other side when I'm connecting. Let me say that way.
Only
Yeah,
animals come through for you.
animals. Well, people I have, but my specialty is definitely animals.
I love that. So, how do you define intuitive animal communication, and how does it differ from traditional methods of understanding animal behavior?
Oh, that's a great question. Traditional methods are good. We use our eyes, ears, nose, our medical information
Yeah.
to figure out what the heck's going on. And those of us, even if we're not trainers and we love our animals, we know when we look at them or we listen to that special meow,
Mhm.
what they're communicating. So
Mhm.
that's good. But intuitive animal communication is for me, it's a direct mind to mind communication. And so my way of putting it is watching or looking at the behavior of the body, all the way the body speaks to us, is like learning stuff from the outside. Doing animal communication, the intuition is from the inside.
Mm.
And it also allows for many ways of learning that information. It's not just hearing words, but you see visuals. It's like a memory in your mind. You
Mhm.
may I feel a lot of things in my body. So there's a lot of ways that they can give us information that may not be available to us when we're only connecting with their outsides, so to speak.
I like that. I like that you have like a mind to mind connection and they may be imprinting feelings inside of your body that maybe they're feeling inside of their body that we may not be tuned into as not being an animal communicator.
Yeah, and it's really helpful because that's a lot of times where medical intuition comes in for me. That's what I call it. I don't diagnose, but people can say, is the pain medication working? And I can check in with them and feel the
Mm.
level of pain. Um, or I can, one of the best stories I had uh, was a little dog that wasn't eating and he was throwing up, and he wasn't that old.
Mm.
And they couldn't figure it out. And they didn't know what was going on. So I went and checked in with him, and I felt real pain in the lower back molar. And
Yeah.
she took him back to the vet, and the vet said, no, no, nothing's there. So she took him to another vet who found that there was indeed some major problems going on. And when the tooth came out, the doggy started eating and had a number of good years after that.
I think that's a really good point to bring up about how maybe you need to get a second opinion from a different veterinarian. Like we did that with our dog, and I'm so grateful that we did because they were first vet was like, put him down, like there's nothing you can do. And it's been like 8 years now since then. So
That is extraordinarily good information, right? 8 years.
yeah, it's been a long and this stuff this I love the veterinarian where we currently take our dog to, and he's very good about, well, you may need to use wet food because his teeth are bothering him and you may need to do this, and it's like every single thing he's told us, our dog is still kicking.
I love it.
I do too. I do. What common issues do you help animals and their people address through your sessions?
Okay. Yeah, I would say the first thing is I don't come to just say, tell me what my dog is thinking. I'm more interested in being a troubleshooter or a sister,
Yeah.
assisting people. I am already a sister. I got two of them. But um, anxiety issues.
Mm,
And we can call it anxiety because that's what it feels when I connect with them.
yeah.
We have anxiety, separation anxiety. Many animals who have been rescued, and now the better word I think is adopted from tough situations,
Mm,
they carry that story with them. I'm not sure why people think that animals only live in the now and we're the only ones burdened by the past. But I've had some, and I've got a couple little nuts living with me now, but they've had some tough stuff.
yeah, they
Animal
really have.
communication can help. Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, no, you go ahead. You're right. They have trauma. They
They
have
have
things that have
trauma.
happened.
So finding what it is, finding out the cause, doing some energy healing to release them from the burden of that whatever life they lived there, and letting them start again.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, there's a cats not peeing in the litter box. I'm laughing because we do a lot of that. And what's interesting is that you have to remember that it may not be behavioral, it
mm.
may be physical. And people we do not love cats peeing elsewhere. We don't.
We
So,
really
and I'm
don't.
cautioning people, please make sure it's not a physical reason.
That's so, so true. So you have a book, it's called Peace and Passing, has provided comfort to a lot of people. What motivated you to write this book, and what is maybe a key message you hope readers would take away from it?
Okay. And thank you. That brings me into the other things that I do a lot is helping people as their animals age, and I've done a lot of work in this area. I've lived through a number of transitions within my own family, and I noticed a lot of information I wanted to share with
Mm,
other people, so um, we can find a little more peace. We can't bring them back, but we can find a place where we're just we remember the good times and we're glad they were in our lives, even
yeah.
though losing them was so hard. Uh, and the reason I wrote it, I rewrote it a couple of years ago, was I had first focused on the very end, when
Mm,
like, is it time? Should we call the vet and
yeah.
have them come to, I like coming to the house. What do we tell them? Can we tell them things during the transition or prior to get them ready? Even invite their friends on the other side, whether it's human or animal, say, come on, be the welcoming party. And
Yeah.
then afterwards, how are they doing? But I expanded it when I realized, probably in my own life, that our grief starts the the moment the realization becomes solid that they're in the last part of their life, whether it's a diagnosis that most of the creatures who get it, whatever species, are going to have a shorter life, or we just see them going downhill and we know they can't do the same things they could do 2 years ago. So I
Mm,
started looking at it from that point of view.
I like that.
Yeah,
So you've worked with clients from various countries. Have you
yeah.
noticed any cultural differences in how people approach animal communication and healing?
Ah, You know, the people who, I think the answer is no, thank you.
I like that.
Thank you, God, because I think the people who come to an animal communicator and healer are already on a very similar wavelength as I
So
am.
true.
You got to really love your animal, and you also got to have some faith that we can make a connection,
Yeah.
uh, and something good can come out of it. And that has been true for all the different folks that I've worked with. And
Yeah.
it's really interesting because the intuitive part, I do not have to speak the language.
Hmm.
Um, even, even though I might have a little tough time understanding the woman from Scotland, I had no problems checking in with her cat. So,
I love that. I love that. So what role do you think the guardian's energy play in the healing process of their animals?
oh, that's that's a good one. Um, we we can be helpful
Mm,
when we own our energy. And so to own the energy is probably look at our emotions.
mm,
And when we only focus on the grief and the worry
mm,
and the what ifs, um, it is probably not the most helpful energy. If so, I ask people to figure out ways to still look for the bright side. I've listened to too much Monty Python because I'm hearing that song, and and but not in that circumstance. But to find something very simple to be glad to have them still here. Uh, so I think I'll stop there and just
okay.
see where we go next.
Okay. Can you maybe share some techniques or practices that pet guardians can use to better connect with and understand their pets at home?
Yeah. Um, there's a couple mindsets that start us in the right track, on the right track. And the first one is, please assume that your animals are already telepathic in some way.
Mm,
That I think we humans have gone over to the logic side so much that we've shut it down, and it's a natural part of of those who are in this world. So assume that they're already there. The funny thing I like to say is if your cat or dog has ever just stared at you, I do, and you wonder what they're thinking. I think they're saying, I'm sharing this as clearly as I can with you. Why are you not hearing me? The other dog knows what I'm saying. Why can't you pick it up, my dearest human? Um, but start with that, and then know that you also have the abilities. They're there, they're wired in. Just got to start making the connection.
That's a really amazing answer. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So, what advice do you have for someone who is new to the idea of intuitive animal communication that might be a little skeptical?
Oh, I think first I would say please don't underestimate the abilities of animals. If you're scientifically inclined at all, you can see all the new research that's going on in the depth of all sorts of animals, even fish, lobster. So I would say open up your mind to the fact that there's more going on than we thought there was. And yeah, if you don't have a pet and you're inclined to do it, get somebody and start noticing how they sometimes anticipate what's going on without you doing anything, or you may even anticipate something they need without even knowing it. Like they're out in the backyard and they are dying to come in. They're not barking, but you just know you need to go down there and open the door
Yeah,
for them.
yeah.
Do some simple stuff like that. Start looking again and seeing what you might see.
So true. So true. How do you handle emotionally charged situations such as an animal's end of life transition to provide support and comfort to both the animal and their guardian?
I I don't shut myself off to the emotions.
Mm,
I ask I kind of ask my being to quiet down and just be there with the person and letting them share theirs. And I remember that what I'm here for is for those beings, not for myself.
mm,
And I need to be really present for them. Um, and even if I do shed some tears or I cry a little bit, it's still with the focus on the other person, the person involved, and the animal that's involved. Uh, but my goal is to get as much information and ways of viewing the transition that will start them on their path to peace, honestly.
Can you maybe share a memorable success story from one of your sessions that showcases the power of intuitive communication and energy healing?
Yeah, let me think. Oh, one of the best um, that I had recently is uses my medical intuition of connecting with the animal. And this was another dog who she wasn't that old, say 7 or 8 maybe, and she kept falling over. And actually, I want to tell one more story, but
Yeah,
this
tell two. Tell two.
okay, good, good. So and they went to the vets, and vets are right a lot of times. But the vet was looking neurologically, which makes a lot of sense if you've seen some of the
Right.
how things happen. But when I went in to check with her and asked her what's going on, I kept seeing the heart's sinus rhythm just stopping and then starting up again. So I told the person this, and they went and got another evaluation, and they found out that it was a heart issue. And she got a pacemaker, and she's alive and well, enjoying herself today. And
I
so,
love
of course,
that.
her person is too.
I love that. That's an amazing story. And what about the other one?
The other one is end of life. So talking about the neurological dog, dog came in with his people one of my in-person sessions, and he was skinny, and he would just walk in circles because that's all he could do. And they were like, why is he holding on? It's like the woman and her boyfriend are there with him. And I asked him, and I'm going, they're gonna call me nuts. He wants his party. And the girl looks at me, the woman looks at me, and she goes, huh? And the boyfriend says, yeah, don't you remember he gets a birthday party every year, and all the cousin dogs come over and they get their little party hats and doggy birthday cake. That's what he's waiting for. So they spent a little time figuring out how to give him his last birthday party, even if they had to do it a little early, because that's what the guy wanted.
Love that. I love that. Do you ever like circle back to your clients to see if they like it, did they give the party? Like, did they ever, do you know if they gave the party or not?
I don't know. I think I got the sense that the boyfriend was going to make it happen, and the girlfriend was on board, but by that time they were figuring it out. It's a touchy subject, but no, I never did check.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. What a fun event for an animal to have a party and all
Right.
their cousin animals come.
Yeah.
I have two cats and one dog, and our two cats love my younger son. He's 15. And they bring him what I term offerings. And they bring up stuffed animals every day. They bring up random stuffed animals, are randomly like they're scattered on his bed, and they go in the hallway.
I was afraid you were going to bring a
A mouse, they do that too.
yes, yes.
They do that as well, but not as frequently. Like it's so interesting. That's like, when they need to be fed is when there's a stuffy or something. Because you're right. I do agree with you. I do feel that the animals are very intuitive and they can respond to the needs of the people around them. And if we're tapped in, I think that is such a valuable point that you bring up.
Yes.
I also think they're in a gang too, and they secretly sneak out at nighttime. But our cats are so funny. Like we have Frank the Tank and Simba, and they're very, very connected to my son. And I think I love it. And they get underneath the covers with him.
Oh,
They're like little people.
they are there. Well, now I've got a little dog that does that. She gets under the covers with us.
I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
that. I love
yeah.
that. So before I ask you the last question, what is the best place for anyone that's willing want to book a session with you, purchase your book or learn more about you? What is the best place for them to go to?
Yeah, the best place is my website, to tell you the truth, sacredgrove.com, SACREDGROVE.com, and everything's there for you. So
Got
you
a
can
lot of
see it.
amazing information on your website for sure. So finally, Mary Beth, what piece of advice would you offer to our audience to help them foster a deeper, more intuitive connection with their pets?
Oh, I would start with some very simple things. We already talked about the intuition and
Mhm.
doing that, but make it a habit to not treat them like furniture. And what I mean is don't just walk by them. Touch them, look at them, remind yourself, and you know that my guys love that. That they're special and they're part of the family, and do that, and they just fall in love. They fall in love with it. It's just amazing that they just love it. Um, that's really easy, especially when you start doing it and you see their response. Um, I would do that, and even talk to them if they want to play. You can say things like, which I did to my cat Mac. He would drop his little ball down and like, we got to play now, and I would say, well, give me about 15 minutes. I'm going to finish up what I'm doing here. at the laptop and then we'll go play. And he got it. And it just trying, talking to them in that sort of collegial way
Yeah.
and have fun with it.
I think that is such a really good piece of advice. Like, pets are part of your family, and there's a reason why you have these pets in your life. And treat them like you would, your child or your loved one. You have them for a reason.
Yes.
I love
Yes,
it.
yes. And the more you do that, the more I found that I get from them. It's really just delightful.
I love that. Well, Mary Beth, thank you so much for coming on the Spiritual Spotlight series. Thank you again.
Oh, this was so wonderful, Rachel. Thanks for having me.
Of course.